Amazing, right? I have a music degree and I'm very proud of it. If you couldn't tell from that tune, this is going to be an X-Files Dana Scully tutorial. The X-Files is back today, oh my goodness, January 3rd for season 11. And I'm super stoked. I'm hoping that this can become a series of Dana Scully through the years. I'll start with season 1 with the very first episode, the pilot. And I've, as you can see here, I'm moisturizing my skin to get ready to try and become Dana. I'm interpreting this look from the pilot as kind of a beauty or glamour makeup as well as a costume. I'm putting Charlotte Tilbury's Light Wonder foundation all over my face with a hand, a finger to be precise, and so I'm just smoothing that all over. This is a very light foundation in terms of coverage, but I find that if I apply it this way I get a little bit better payoff. But Dana definitely goes for a natural look, so I'm then taking a damp beauty sponge and going over that to blend it in and kind of remove any excess. You can still see, all of Jillian's freckles, even though her skin looks nice and made up. So that's the look we're going for here. I know that in the 90s it was very matte, all of foundations, but I'm using this because it's a lighter coverage, and then I'm going to set it, even though it is quite a dewy foundation. Putting a little bit of extra foundation where I need it, where I have some redness. And also under my eyes, I'm not going to do concealer because like I said, it's a very natural look, and so I don't want to have my skin look overly done. So just a bit of the same foundation under my eyes will give me that no makeup look. On a very young Gillian Anderson, I'm sure in 1992 they barely used anything. There she is, looking very serious. I'm taking a little extra foundation as well to cover up a little blemish I have, which is the exact same shape as a mole, so I'm going to hope it just blends in and I'll pretend it's a new beauty mark. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to powder down this kind of glowy foundation to get that 90s matte look. I'm just using a big fluffy powder blue Real Techniques brush and some Clarins. What are we calling this? They call it a Poudre Multi-Eclat. It's a mineral loose powder in the lightest shade. Now, as I mentioned, I want this to be kind of a transformation, but also kind of a beauty look. The main thing I'm going to attempt to do is try and slim down my nose. My nose is just a bit wider and rounder than Gillian Anderson's. It's about the same length, but what I'm going to do is go down the sides with this ColourPop cream contour, which is nice because it's quite cool toned, and also down the sides of my nose. This isn't going to be an extreme contour look, but I wanted to attempt this feature because it is quite distinct on Gillian's face compared to mine. Now, as a massive X-Files fan, I've had many years, more than 20 years, to study Gillian's face, Dana Scully's face. When I was a teen and the show was actually on, I really struggled to do her makeup and her hair. It was too mature of a look. But I also found this great video that Gillian Anderson recently did with The Guardian, where she draws a self-portrait of herself. I'll link it in the description box because it's a really beautiful video, and you can absolutely study kind of all the intricacies of Gillian's face. So to add to that nose contour, I'm putting some Maybelline Fit Me concealer straight down the bridge of the nose to try and make it thinner and straighter. My nose is a little crooked compared to Gillian's. And then that eyeshadow palette I just held up is an old faithful one from L'Oreal. And so I'm using the Ivory Tone matte eyeshadow to just set the little bit of highlighting I put on my nose. and I'm also running that over my eyelids to get ready for eyeshadow. Before moving on to eyeshadow, I am going to contour a little bit with my Smashbox contour palette. Now, I could go a little bit ham on this to try and make my face more long and thin like Jillian's, but I have a round face with kind of a squared off jaw, so that's not going to happen. But what I'm doing just to help a little bit is contouring above where my actual cheekbone line exists and really angling it. Instead of going straight back towards my ear, I'm angling it on more of a diagonal to head towards my temples and try to, as I mentioned, elongate the face. And also doing my jaw contour a little bit higher than normal. And setting that with the same powder that I used earlier. I'm going to insert a photo here that I used as a reference. Although it is black and white, you can see kind of the details of her eye makeup and eyebrows. So I'm going to move into eyebrows. They're definitely more hairy than mine. I mean, it was the 90s and I just don't have that many eyebrows to begin with. So what I'm kind of showing you there is I'm going to use this brow pen to draw on some individual hairs, almost like lower down than my existing eyebrows. You know, all the eyebrows that you didn't pluck back in the day. And I wish nobody had plucked all those eyebrows, especially myself. I'd probably have bushier ones. So yeah, I'm referring back to that photo and drawing them on with this Ardell, I think it's called an eyebrow feathering pen. I will then be going in with an actual eyebrow pencil to define the shape, but as you can see, the kind of lower brow hairs are getting drawn on. I remember when Gillian Anderson was in People magazine as one of the world's most beautiful people. In her interview, she mentioned how obsessed she is with her eyebrows. And yeah, I had a clipping of that magazine taped to my wall when I was a kid. Those were the days. I'll try and find a photo if they exist, but my walls were a shrine to the X-Files. And my studio to this day is not unlike that. I'll show you my autographs another time maybe, because I'm getting into eyeshadows. And I'm going to be using that MAC 9 Amber ×9 or whatever they call it, as well as the L'Oreal palette that I showed you earlier. So I'll be using that kind of warm brown as well as the cooler brown. The first shadow I'm taking over my eyes is the cooler brown, and I'm using a MAC 217 to just lightly put that all over the eyelid. This is not a heavy eye look whatsoever. Later into the series, Jillian's eye makeup gets a little more complicated and definitely much warmer. But maybe I'll show you that another time. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more Dana Scully through the years. Taking a clean brush just there to blend that all in, and then a smaller Real Techniques shading brush to run the same shadow, you guessed it, underneath my eyes along the lash line. You can see in that black and white photo how well defined her eyes are. Now Jillian's eyes are a little bit more hooded than mine, and she has much less space in between her lid and her eyebrow than I do, and her eyes are not as round as mine. They're more almond shape, more alien-like. So I am going to try and accentuate my eyes to mimic hers a little bit, but not like a full costume look. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking Cork eyeshadow from that MAC palette and running it under my lash line, and then a little bit towards my socket to kind of start defining how I'm going to deepen that area. Like I said, to make it to make my eyes a little less round and more like Jillian's. I'm taking a darker matte color from that same palette now to go over and continue to deepen. And then I'm going to take it as well right in the kind of corners of my eyes to close up some of the area, because like I said before, her eyes have a lot less skin showing than mine do. They're beautiful, slightly hooded eyes. That same darker matte shadow is going to go through my crease with the small shader brush. This will give me a little bit more color that I can then blend in. I'm focusing right on the outer corners there to close up my eye just a little bit. If this was a more drastic transformation, I could of course use eyeliners and other products to really change the shape of my eyes, but I don't think I would look like a squeaky clean Dana Scully from the first season if I did that. I want to keep this still beautiful, just as if a plucky young special agent of the FBI managed to throw this on every day before going in to debunk the X-Files project. Okay, so we're almost done with the eyes, at least the eyeshadow, just taking another blend with the 217, and now we're on to blush. So a beautiful angel on Tumblr managed to put together a great list of the actual makeup that makeup artists used on Jillian for the X-Files, and so one of them was I believe a Bobbi Brown blush that was like a brownish pink, and so I mixed those two that you saw earlier. One is just a matte pink blush from MUA, and the cooler tone one is MAC's Harmony blush. So I'm mixing those together to get some nice color on the face, but still trying to keep it really natural, going again over with a little bit more powder to make sure it's all nice and matte. Also not doing any more contouring, and definitely no highlighting. Giving my eyelashes a little bit of a curl, but just a little. Jillian's eyelashes were never super curly, nor were they super dark or thick. And this is a definite struggle for me. This is an exercise in restraint to use just one or two thin coats of mascara. And I even used a black-brown mascara. This one is by Clinique, to make sure that it wasn't too heavy. Her eyelashes were always well defined, but they looked natural. So if anything, it was a lengthening rather than a volumizing. And for the bottom lashes, I'm really only putting it at the outer corner to define the lash a little bit. Quick once over with some brow gel just to get the lashes as bushy and 90s as possible. That's the Maybelline Brow Drama in the shade Blonde. And once we've got that done, we're looking natural, and we're going to the lips, which is one of the most important parts, I think, for Scully's look. And what you're seeing me doing is actually putting foundation on my lips, because particularly my bottom lip is quite a lot bigger than Jillian's, and so we are gonna kind of do a little makeup magic here to block out the lips and then draw them back in. So just using a light dusting of that same foundation and taking off the excess with a sponge. And so I can then go in with my nude lip liner to do my new shape. So although my bottom lip is bigger than Jillian's, she's one of those rare humans that has a fuller top lip than a bottom lip. So what I'm doing here is just overdrawing my top lip a little bit to really connect towards the center and the Cupid's bow. It was agony to decide on which lip liners and lip sticks to use for this look. As I mentioned before, Dana's, like I know her, Scully's makeup does get a little bit more glam and then a little more modern throughout the years. But in this pilot episode, she had defined lips, but they were quite brown. Not a nude, not like a pinky nude, but like a reddish brown. A very 90s situation, but hard in current times to find a matching color. I'm taking a lip brush to kind of blend out the line I've just made so that it doesn't look harsh, because this is supposed to be a little bit natural. And then on the bottom lip, of course, I'm drawing them in smaller than my natural lip, and moving around and making sure it's working okay, until I take the two lipsticks that I mixed together to create what I thought was an appropriate shade for this look. One is by Benefit, and it's called Rocket Pop. It's a really lovely lipstick, but the formula is almost too creamy, like it just falls apart. And the other one is a classic Revlon Super Lustrous lipstick, and the shade is called Toast of New York, and that's the very kind of warm orangey brown red lip color that mixed with kind of the pinkish red of the Benefit worked out. This is a very different lip color than I would normally wear. So yeah, as much as it's not a transformative look, it's a different experience for me. I'm out of my comfort zone. But with the lips done, that's the look. Before I show you the finished product with some costume and prop accessories, here's that photo I promised you of my childhood bedroom. All that good stuff. I don't have any of those posters anymore. But yeah, checking out my lips, making sure it looks good in a selfie, and we're done. I'm gonna take my hair out. I did as much blow drying with a round brush as I could stand to get my hair as 90s as possible. You'll notice in those photos that the ends of her hair are always just perfectly curled under. And to further prove my fandom, behind me in my studio here, that's my Jillian and David autograph, and there I am. I've got my FBI badge. I'm raising my eyebrow just like Scully does when she's very inquisitive. And that's the final look. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know which season or iteration of Scully you want to see next. And stay tuned till the end for some more silliness on the keyboard. Thanks so much for watching.